Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Dynamics 360 talk, where today's topic is B2B e-commerce. My name is Evan, and I'll be your moderator today. We are broadcasting this web conference through Teams Live events, and the audio can be heard through your device speakers. Today's web conference is being recorded on behalf of the Microsoft Corporation, and by participating in this session using Microsoft Teams, name, email address, phone number, and/or title may be viewable by other session participants. If you do not consent to being a part of a recorded session, please disconnect at this time. The recording will be available on the TechTalk's Community Dynamics page within 5 business days. If you have questions for the presenters or need support, please use the Q&A panel located on the right side of your screen. Our presenters will be responding to your questions throughout the event, and we will have some time at the end to speak to some questions verbally. Thank you for your patience during these announcements. Now let's get started. Presenting for us today from Microsoft, we have Anil Purushotham, Principal Program Manager Lead. Anil, over to you.
Thanks, Evan. Hello, everyone. So my name is Anil Purushotham. I'm a Principal Program Manager Lead on the Dynamics 365 Commerce team. And I have got product management responsibilities for B2B e-commerce, in addition to a couple of other areas in the product. I have along with me Sony Martin, who is an engineer on the team, and he has built out some of the B2B functionalities that we will be speaking about in a minute or so. With that, let's look at the agenda for the day. We will talk about why Microsoft is investing in B2B e-commerce. Then we will talk about, what does the B2B e-com solution is all about, and also talk about its value proposition. We will have a look at some of the key features that we have enabled for the first release of the B2B e-commerce offering. And later on, we will get into a demo, and after that, we will follow it up with questions if there are any. With that, let's talk about why is Microsoft investing in B2B e-commerce. As we all know, B2B e-commerce is going through a major transformation with a new generation of business users and buyers joining the workforce. Business users are looking for more intuitive and self-service options in terms of the business purchases, and traditional B2B procurement solutions have not been able to keep pace with their requirements. And also, B2B e-commerce is one of the biggest requested additions to our e-commerce solutions since it released back in February 2020. Given all that, we have made a very conscious effort to enabling capabilities for B2B e-commerce. So what is the solution all about? So B2B e-com from Dynamics 365 Commerce is built on the same platform as the current B2C e-com solution. And as a result of that, it provides organizations the capability to handle both their B2C as well as B2B e-com requirements in one single solution. By bringing together B2B and B2C e-com capabilities into a single solution, business users can gain access to the rich, intelligent, and user-friendly shopping experiences that consumers enjoy without giving up the unique needs of B2B purchases. The solution comes with a rich feature set targeted towards B2B e-com scenarios and users, and is seamlessly integrated with Dynamics 365 Sales as well as Dynamics 365 Customer Service to handle the pre-purchase and post-purchase requirement of these users. With B2B e-com from Dynamics 365 Commerce, we are enabling commerce scenarios for organizations beyond the retail and commerce industry segment. So the solution can be used by manufacturers, CPG companies, distribution companies, dealership organizations to actually light up their e-commerce requirements in a very meaningful way. So that's the solution, and that's what the high-level value prop of the solution is. Talking about the key features, like I mentioned earlier, because the B2B e-com solution is built on the same platform as the B2C e-com solution, all the capabilities that we have in B2C e-com in terms of the immersive search, the navigation hierarchy, the faceted filters, the intelligent product recommendations, all of that functionality that you have in B2C also accrues to B2B e-commerce. And then out of the tool sets that we shipped for B2C e-com in terms of visual site builder, the content management system, all of that is also leveraged for B2B e-commerce. So think about B2B e-commerce more like an additional functionalities that we have enabled on the same platform, which are more specific for B2B related use cases. Having said that, as much as B2C capabilities accrue to B2B e-commerce as well, vice versa, I mean, there are functionalities which we have built which are more specific to B2B e-com. But let's say in your customer situation or in your environment, if some of those B2B e-com scenarios also make sense for B2B, then you can totally make use of those B2B functionality also on the B2C side of things. So it's basically additional functionality that we have enabled that can be used both for B2C as well as for B2B e-com. So what is it that we have done for B2B e-com functionality? What is it that we have built in the first release? So if you look at a typical B2C shopping experience, I mean, the consumer might land on the B2C e-commerce website, and then he or she can look at the products and services on offer. They can add those products and services to cart and then check out either using a named account or a guest account for that matter, right? That's the typical B2C shopping experience. But we all know that when it comes to B2B e-commerce, things are a bit different. Things are a bit different in the sense that not everybody and anybody can just land up on the B2B e-commerce website and then start transacting. That's not how it works in the B2B e-commerce world. Organizations typically only allow approved business partners and their approved users to actually transact on the B2B e-commerce website. Now, to enable that flow, what we have done is we have enabled a business partner onboarding flow on the e-commerce website. So potential business partners can find your B2B e-commerce website. They can look at the products and services on offer. They would not be allowed to transact because they are not an approved business partner. But what they can do is they can use the e-commerce website to submit a request to be onboarded as a business partner. So there's a new model that we have enabled through which potential business partners can submit an onboarding request. And when that request is submitted, the request flows back into Commerce HQ, where the request can be viewed by account managers and sales managers. And then accordingly, they can decide whether, it's a business partner that they would like to onboard. And if they decide to approve that business partner, they can approve the business partner, which would create the customer records in the system. It would create the customer hierarchy in the system. And then an email will also be triggered to the requester saying that you and your organization have been successfully onboarded as a business partner. You can use your email to actually log into the B2B e-commerce website and then start transacting. So that's the entire flow around onboarding a business partner. So when the business partner gets approved, the user who put in the request on behalf of the business partner gets designated as an admin user for that particular business partner organization. And then being an admin user, when the person logs into the system, into the B2B e-commerce website, the admin user can now start onboarding additional users from their organization as valid users who can transact on behalf of the business partner. So that's the entire flow that we have built around the business partner onboarding. In addition to this self-serve or onboarding request being triggered by the potential business partner, you can totally configure all of those entities directly in Commerce HQ. So when you cut over or when you implement the system, you already have a list of business partners whom you have a trading relationship with, and you do not want them to go through the entire onboarding experience all over again. That can totally be supported. All you need to do is you need to configure those customers' hierarchies in the system, and then though you can manually set those business partners as approved business partners in the system. So you could do a business partner initiated request approval flow to onboard a business partner, or you can set them up directly in Commerce HQ based upon what the use case is. So that's the initials are one of the first functionality that we have enabled from a B2B e-commerce standpoint. We have also enabled some ordering capabilities which are more relevant and more applicable for B2B users. The very first one being the quick order entry. We all understand that B2B orders typically have more number of lines on them, And then users typically have a sense of what they want to order, how much quantity they want to order. So they know the part number, they know the SKU number, they know what quantity they want to order. So as much as that B2C experience is very user-friendly, the B2C experience of navigating, searching, browsing for a product, landing on the PDP page, adding the products to the cart, and then checkout, as much as that B2C experience is very user-friendly and it's wanted by B2B users, in certain scenarios when you are placing large orders with large number of lines on it, probably that experience may not be very productive. So what we have done is we have enabled something called as a quick order entry UI. This is more like a grid-based UI similar to what you would see in back office applications, where the users can actually come into this UI and they can quickly enter the part number, the SKU number, put in the quantity, and they can keep doing that by building up, by putting in all the products that they want to order. And once they have entered all the products on that UI with one single click, they will be able to add all those products into the cart and then check out, right? So making the order entry experience more conducive and more coherent for a B2B order entry is something that we have enabled for B2B e-commerce. So beyond the quick order entry, we have also enabled support for order templates. The other unique aspect or typical nature of a B2B order entry is, in a B2B scenario, users typically tend to order the same products over and over again. So there's a lot of repetitive orders because the business might be buying consumables, the business might be buying spares, the business might be buying merchandise which they keep in stock over month. So the orders are mostly repetitive. So a user doesn't want to start the order entry process from scratch every month. So to support that flow, what we have done is we have enabled capability for a user to define an order template, and then they can add products to the order template. And then once these templates are built and kept in the system, every time the user wants to place an order, they can actually call back an order template, add the products from the template to the cart, make any quick tweaks to the products that has been added to the cart in terms of either adding or removing a product, changing the quantity, whatever that may be, and then add the products to the checkout flow, for example, right? So being able to define order templates and then use order templates as a part of the ordering experience is the additional capability that we have enabled for B2B e-commerce. The other scenario that is more prevalent for B2B, but it's also applicable for B2C, is this order quantity thresholds. So, for example, businesses wants to define, business rules and validations like, for a particular given product, it can only be ordered, up to a maximum quantity of X, for example, or the user needs to order at least a minimum quantity of Y before the order can be accepted. Or they want this order for a given product to be in multiples of, let's say, 2 for that matter. So they can only order in units of 2, 4, 6, 8, and so on. So if you have business rules like that you want to configure for your products, you can define those business rules and configuration in Commerce HQ. And then as users are going through the ordering experience, these business rules and validations will kick in so that when users are placing the orders, they are of optimal quantity. The additional scenario that we are supporting from a B2B e-commerce standpoint is on-account payment. So in the B2B context, organizations typically or business partners typically have credit limits and payment terms. So when users of a business partner, when they're placing an order, unlike a B2C scenario where they would not be paying by a credit card, they would typically be paying on account against the credit limits and payment terms that's been defined. So to support that flow, we have enabled support for on-account payment on the B2B e-commerce website. We have also built some self-service capabilities for business partners users. The very first one being in the context of a B2C scenario. I mean, when you look at order history, there is the notion of a user and there's the order history for that given signed-in user, right? That's about it. But in a B2B context, you have the user plus you also have this notion of the organization. So when we look at order history, the user should be able to look at order history for the orders that he or she has placed in the system, but they would also need capability where they want to see order history across the organization, right? So for B2B e-commerce, we have enabled capability where where users can look at order history, across the entire organization. The other functionality that we have enabled for B2B e-commerce is this functionality where users can request for soft copies of account statement and invoices, sales invoices. And when these requests are submitted, those requests are actually serviced by an email with those documents as PDF attachment on those emails. So users can request for account statement and invoices, which would be sent as PDF attachment on emails to the requester. Beyond just seeing those invoices, beyond just looking at the account statement, there is also capability for a user to pay for open sales invoices using the payment methods that's supported in B2B e-commerce. Last but not the least, as we are building this B2B e-commerce capabilities, wherever applicable, wherever relevant, we're also building a tighter integration with Dynamics 365 Sales. So for example, in the onboarding flow, when a potential business partner submits a request to be onboarded, the request can flow into Commerce HQ, and the request can also flow into Dynamics 365 Sales as a lead entity. And then account managers, if they're using Dynamics 365 Sales, they can go to the complete experience of lead management, opportunity management on that onboarding request that came in. And once that opportunity is approved and marked as won, it could trigger the approvals in Commerce HQ in terms of onboarding the business partner. So that was one of the scenario where we are enabling tighter integration with Dynamics 365 Sales. As we are building in additional capability for B2B e-commerce, we would actually enable more integrated scenarios with Dynamics 365 Sales. So the solution and the capability that I spoke so far is available in public preview today. So customers and partners who have access to 10.0.17 build and who are part of the preview program can actually deploy this B2B e-commerce on their environments, and then they can try it. And then this solution is planned to be generally available in April timeframe. So April 1st, B2B e-com would be generally available. So those are the timelines that we're targeting for B2B e-commerce. Even before the product is generally available, just to call it out, we have an early adapter program or a preview program. So if there are customers who want to implement the solution, they can actually sign up for the preview program, and the details of how to sign up for the preview program I'll be sharing at the end of my talk. But customers and partners can sign up for preview program and actually start implementing this and hopefully go live even before April, if that's what the need is. But generally, the product will become available in the April 2021 timeline. With all that being said, let's look at the demo of the solution. So this is our B2C reference site that we shipped in the product when we enable B2C e-commerce website. I'm sure you have seen this site before as well. And this particular B2C e-commerce site is backed by an online channel entity that you configure in Commerce HQ. So now what we have done is we have enabled capability for organizations to actually deploy a B2B e-commerce site as well. This B2B e-commerce site is also backed by an online channel. And then this B2B e-commerce site can be themed, can be branded. The look and feel of this site can be totally independent of what the B2C site looks like. So you can stand both B2B and B2C sites and multiples of this based upon what your use case is with one single instance of Dynamics 365 Commerce. And as you can see over here, like I mentioned earlier, the B2C e-commerce offering is backed by an online channel, and the B2B e-commerce website is similarly backed with a B2B online channel. And the way you would configure the online channel for B2B is very similar to it's actually exactly as how you would configure a B2C e-commerce channel. So you would create your channel, you will do your assortments, you will do your navigation hierarchy, you will associate relevant payment methods to the B2B e-commerce channel. So all of that configuration pretty much stays the same between B2C and B2B e-commerce. So once you have this B2B e-commerce website stood up, like I mentioned earlier, all the B2C functionality like the immersive search experience that we have in the solution is also available on the B2B e-commerce website. The navigation hierarchy that we all understand and know from a B2C e-commerce is also available on the B2B e-commerce channel. The whole PDP page, the category page, the faceted filters, all of that pretty much, is carried over from B2C onto B2B. So you can decide how do you want to theme your B2B pages, how you want to theme your category pages, how you want to theme your PDP pages, all of that. So the tool set for this and the functionality is very much the same between B2C and B2B e-com. So beyond just searching for and looking for products, like I mentioned earlier, on a B2B e-commerce website, users just cannot come in and add products to a cart and check out. They need to be an approved business partner. So when a potential business partner lands on the B2B e-commerce website, and he or she looks at the products and services on offer, and they like what's being offered, and if they want to become a business partner, they can actually submit a request to be on board as a business partner using this module over here. So this is the business partner onboarding module that we have enabled on the platform. So what this module does is it enables a potential business partner to fill up a form with all the relevant details of the requester, of the organization, with some additional notes that they can capture. And then they can submit this request to be on board as a business partner. So that's the onboarding module that's been enabled for B2B e-commerce. Once a potential business partner submits this onboarding request, what happens is that onboarding request comes into Commerce HQ or FNO as a prospect entity. So it creates a prospect record in the system, and then the account manager or the sales manager can look at all the available prospects. They can look at the information that's been filled in. They can look at the text information that's been captured on the notes section of the prospect. And once they review this, once they evaluate whether this organization is an organization of good standing to do business with, and if so, if they want to approve that request, there would be an option for them to approve the request over here. Now, in my environment, because all the business partner is already approved, I don't get to see that option over here. But there's an option to accept or reject that request that you would see on the prospect entity in the system. The moment the prospect is approved, what happens is there are a couple of things that we do. We create the customer records in the system. And when I say customer records, we actually create multiple customer records in the system. We create a customer record for the organization. So in my example, John Doe was a person who submitted a request on behalf of Contoso. And when that request got approved, the system creates a Contoso customer, system creates John Doe as a customer. So it creates Contoso as a customer of the type organization. It creates John Doe as a customer of the type person. And then what it does, it also creates this entity called as customer hierarchy. So it creates this entity called as customer hierarchy, and it creates an association between the organization customer and the user customer, right? So on the parent, on the header of the customer hierarchy, you would see the organization customer being attached. And then on the details section, you would actually see the user customers being attached. So in the initial flow, you would only see a record for Contoso, you will only see a record for John Doe. And then an email will also be triggered to John Doe saying that, hey, you and Contoso have been successfully onboarded as an approved business partner, and you can now transact on the B2B e-commerce website. So when John Doe gets that email, John Doe can now start to can log into the application, log into the B2B e-commerce website. And then when John Doe logs into the e-commerce website, John Doe will have capability to onboard additional users from his organization Contoso onto the e-commerce website. So once John Doe is logged in, John Doe can go to the My Account view, and you would see some additional options light up in the My Account page, which are more relevant for B2B e-commerce scenarios. The very first one being the organization users option over here. So John Doe can go to the organization users section on the My Account details, and then John Doe can add additional users from his organization as authorized users who can log into the B2B e-commerce website and transact on the website. So John Doe can add additional users. John Doe can remove an existing user. John Doe can edit an existing user's information. So John Doe being the admin, John Doe can do this full user management and user info capabilities for the business partner. So for the business partner, users are self-sufficient and they have capability where the admin can self-manage the user profiles for the business partner. And as additional users are onboarded, removed, all of that, you would see those entries in the customer hierarchy as well. So John Doe added additional users from the B2B e-commerce website, and then those customers would get created, and then they would also get associated to the hierarchy over here. So that's the entire flow around onboarding a business partner that we have enabled on the B2B e-commerce website. Talking about some of the other functionality. Now, the standards, ordering experience of search, browse, navigate, it's also available on the B2B e-commerce website. So now in this experience, when users are trying to add products to a cart from the PDP page, there is this new thing that you see over here on B2B e-commerce website, which is this maximum quantity to be purchased message over here. So there is a configuration in Commerce HQ where you can define those quantity limits. So in my example over here, if I look up the same product in back office, the Grand Cap toe leather Oxford shoe, if I look at the default order settings for the same, and if I look at the sales fast tab over here, as you can see, I can define things like what is the multiple order quantity, what is the minimum order quantity, what is the maximum order quantity, all of those. So for this particular product, I have only defined a max order quantity of 2. So because I have done that configuration, system presents me this message saying that you can only order up to a max of 10 units. So if I try to add more than that, it will actually prevent me from doing so. So it is not just about showing the relevant message, but also ensuring that users cannot bypass those quantity definitions. And if there was a minimum quantity configuration, if there was a multiple quantity configuration, all of that would have kicked in as well. So that's the whole functionality around order quantity thresholds that we have introduced for B2B ecom, and then can also be used for B2C scenarios as well. In addition to this, like I mentioned earlier, we have introduced this capability for order templates. So I can, when I'm on the PDP page, and if I think that this is a product that I will keep ordering month over month, and I want to add it to an existing template, or maybe I want to create a new order template, I can do so from the product details page over here. I can use this, click on this icon or click on this button over here called as Add to Order Templates. And when I do that, system shows me a list of available order templates. So I can add it to an existing order template. I can create a new order template, for an example. So all those options are available to me. So let's say if I say create a new order template, I'm going to call this, let's say, winter collection. I can create a new order template, and then I can add that product to the template, and I can maybe go to the order template view, or I can hit continue shopping. So this way, I can, as I'm looking at products, and if I believe this is a product that I want to add it to a template for quick order entry, I can do so. So once the users are creating these templates, the user can go to their My Account view, and then user can actually see all the order templates that they have created. So if they click on the Manage Order Templates view over here, they can basically see all the order templates that's been created in the system. And they can decide to, add the products from the template to the bag right from over here, or they can actually go into the details of the order template, and then they can look at the products in the order template, they can look at the quantity, and they can do a few actions. For example, they can remove products from a template, they can increase the quantity on a template, they can add new products to a template, they can rename templates, they can delete templates, and last but not the least, they can also add template to a bag. So if they hit add template to a bag, all the products in the template will be added to the bag. So when I can go to the view bag and checkout option over here, as you can see, all the products from the template got added to the bag. And if there are any quick changes that I would like to make to this, I can do so over here in the back, and then I can hit checkout and then, continue my order entry process. So this enables quick order entry by creating templates of things that you would order on a very frequent basis. And then you can use that template to quickly seed that orders into your bag for a faster checkout. So you can add products to a template from the product details page. You can also add products to a template from the cart page. So probably what happened is, as I'm browsing, I'm adding products to my cart. When I looked at the cart, I think, this is a combination of products that I will keep ordering every time. In which case, they can actually add the products in the cart to the order template. So they can also add products from the cart to the order template. So that's the order template functionality. The other functionality that we have enabled is the on-account payment, like I mentioned earlier. So when users are going through the checkout flow experience is very similar to the B2C e-com checkout experience. They can choose a shipping address. The default shipping address get defaulted. They can choose to change it. They can choose a delivery option, of pretty much standard functionality. And when it comes to payment method, this is where the on-account thing starts lighting up. So this particular customer, has got available credit limit of 8,232, whereas this order balance is 3,785, which basically denotes that this particular customer has got enough limit on his account to actually make an on-account payment for this particular order. So, and if they decide to apply on-account, they can say, yes, I want to apply on-account payment, and it would get applied over here. And then the user is not required to provide any other information in terms of credit card or anything like that. They can confirm their billing address, and then they can hit place order and then create the order in the system. So there are a couple of rules about on-account payment. So on-account payment system actually, it completely respects the configuration that we have in Commerce HQ. So when you're creating your customers, at the customer level, you basically have a bunch of parameters, which I'm sure you're aware about. So things like mandatory credit limit, and then, what is the available credit, what is the credit limit in terms of dollar amount, right? So you can maintain this configuration on your customer. There's also this configuration of allow on account. So do you want to allow on account for this particular customer or not? So you can really control which customers get presented with the on-account payment functionality. And if they are allowed on account, do you want to enforce credit limit check? And if so, what is the credit limit? All of that is driven based upon the configuration that you maintain in Commerce HQ. So those are some of the capabilities around B2B from an ordering standpoint. The additional functionality that's available on the from a B2B e-commerce standpoint is this account credit part of it, where users from an organization can at any given point in time come to this account credit option, and then they can look at what is my available credit, what is the balance that I owe to the organization, and they can get all those details. They can also request for an account statement. So this gives you a summary view, but let's say you want to have a detailed view of your statement. So you can actually the user can actually request for an account statement. So they can request an account statement only for themselves, so only for the transactions that they have created in the system, or they can request an organization-wide account statement. And in either case, when a user is making a request, system will prompt them to enter the date parameters for the statement, and then it would send an email with an account statement as a PDF document to the requester's email address as it is being shown over here. So that is the request account statement and the credit balance view that we have enabled for B2B e-commerce. So in addition to seeing the details of an account, the users can also come to the My Invoices view over here, and the users can see the list of open sales invoices. So basically, users can see the list of invoices, and then they can choose to apply filter on that list view. So for example, if they only want to see unpaid invoices, they can choose this option. If they want to see only partially paid invoices, they can see this option. They only want to see paid invoices, they can see that. If they want to see all the invoices, they can see that as well. If there are more invoices, you can hit load more to load those invoices. So the B2B e-com will give you a complete list of invoices for this particular organization or user. Users can choose to, beyond just seeing the list of invoices, user can choose to select an invoice and probably request a soft copy of the invoice. So when they hit request invoice, they can, if they hit the submit request in the second UI, system will trigger an email with the requested invoice as a PDF attachment on that email. So users can do requests for individual invoices. They can also do multi-select, and then they can hit request invoice, which would basically create multiple PDF attachment of those invoices and send one email to this particular user. So users can request for invoices as well. Similarly, users can not just see invoices and request for soft copies of invoices, they can also pay invoices. For example, I have selected one invoice over here, which is open. I want to make a payment, so I can hit pay invoice over here. If I want to do multiple, I can select multiple and I can say make a payment. So when I select an invoice and when I hit pay invoice, the system actually adds the invoice to the cart. And then you would go to the normal checkout experience, that you would, the checkout experience very similar to how you were checking out for products. But in this case, instead of checking out for products, you're checking out invoices. So any payments that you make would be settled against that open invoice. And you can use the available payment methods on the B2B e-commerce website, like credit card, for example, to make payment against invoices in the system. We do not allow, invoices and products to be added to the cart at the same time. So for example, because I have an invoice in the cart, and if I try to add a product to it, system would stop you. So you can only have products or you can only have invoices, but you cannot have both of them in the cart, because I'm sure it makes sense to you as well. So if I try to do add to bag over here, it will tell me that it cannot add because there is already an invoice document on the cart. So I can have a cart of invoices or I can have a cart of product, but I cannot have both. So those are some of the functionalities that we have enabled. And then in addition to requesting account statement from the account credit view, users can also request account statements from the organization users view, where probably an admin user can select a few user and they can request an account statement from over here, or they can request an organization-wide account statement as well. So these are some of the capabilities that we have released for our initial foray into B2B e-commerce. Starting April 2021, since the product becomes generally available, with every monthly update that comes after April, there will be additional functionalities that we will keep enabling for B2B e-commerce scenarios on our platform. So that was a quick demo of what we have built and how it is all coming together. Going back to my slide. So there are a couple of additional configurations that we have enabled on the Visual Site Builder tool. For example, as I mentioned earlier, you can enable B2B functionality onto B2C websites as well, and vice versa. So when it comes to on a customer account payment, we have introduced this parameter called, do you want to enable customer account payments for which group of customers? Do you want to enable payments only for B2B customers, only for B2C customers, or is it enabled for all customers, or is it disabled for all customers? So you can really choose, like on account payment, you want to extend to which group of customers. And then beyond this, we will also look at the configurations that I spoke about earlier in Commerce HQ, in terms of you might allow B2B customers to have on-account payment, but there could be one customer who doesn't have a good credit worthiness, and probably for him you do not want to allow on-account payment. So at a customer level also you can control it, but you can also do it at a group of customers from the Visual Site Builder tool. So that's one configuration that we have enabled. The other configuration that we have enabled is order quantity limits. So this whole quantity thresholds in terms of max quantity, min quantity, multiple quantity. Now that kind of validation, do you want to enable only for your B2B customers, or do you want to enable it only for your B2C customers, or do you want to enable it for all customers, or do you want to disable it for all customers? So you can also control the order quantity limit validation on your e-commerce website, either to B2B or B2C group of customers. So those are the few configurations which are applicable over here. We have got complete documentation posted in terms of the new modules that we have introduced on the e-commerce starter kit, which you can use to actually drop onto your e-commerce website based upon your design, your theme of the website, and then light up those scenarios accordingly. With that, I will open it up for questions. Sunny, do we have any unanswered questions in the Q&A section?
Yes, we do. So the first question is, I'd like to enable a standard wholesale distribution business currently on D365FO to use B2B e-commerce. How can I use this functionality without call center orders?
So for you to use B2B e-commerce, you don't have to use call center. You can deploy a standard Dynamics 365 environment with e-commerce. You don't have to enable the call center module. You don't have to set up a call center module. You can actually create an online channel for B2B e-commerce, and then you would actually create, you can have your customers create orders from the B2B e-commerce channel, which would come into Commerce HQ. So there is no requirement for you to use the call center module unless I'm missing some scenarios over there.
Okay, and the next question, can a given organization cross-access online channels?
Can you repeat that? Can a given organization
cross-access online channels?
If I interpret that question correctly, what you're saying is, can one user belong to multiple customer hierarchy or multiple organizations? The answer to that is no. So let's say Anil works for Microsoft. Microsoft has, let's say one of Microsoft vendor has a B2B e-commerce website. So Anil, being a Microsoft employee, can only order on behalf of Microsoft. I cannot order on behalf of any other organization. So we limit users to only one organization today. We don't allow a user to transcend multiple organizations when they're placing orders. Next question, Sonny.
Sure. Any plans on introducing the packaging options for B2B orders of large quantity? Examples, pallets of Xboxes or hangers added as an add-on.
Yeah, so how you enable the unit ordering on your B2B e-commerce website is driven based upon configuration. So you can configure things like you would sell in pallets, you would sell in cases, or you would sell in any applicable unit of measure that's been configured. And then on the e-commerce platform, very recently, or probably it's one of the upcoming releases, we have enabled functionality where users can choose a unit of measure. So previously, it always used to assume that you are selling in the stocking unit of measure. But since then, we have enabled capability in the platform itself where the unit of measure will also be surfaced. And then once you have the configured selling units of measure, those would be visible there. And the user can choose to order in any selling unit of measure for that matter. So it's a platform level capability. It will light up both for B2C and B2B e-com. So yes, you would be able to sell in multiple units of measure on the e-commerce platform in general. Next one, Sonny.
What happens when the min and max quantities limitations change after the products are added to the templates? Do the templates get updated with the limitation?
No, it does not. So when you are adding products to the order template, it does not go through the min-max validation because you're only creating a template. And to your point, that min-max quantity definition can change any time. So when products are being added to the order template, there is no validation happening. There's definitely will be validation happening if the products are added to the bag, but it will not do any validation when you are adding it to the template. But when the template is being added to a cart, when the user is trying to add products from the template into the cart, it will do that quantity validation all over again. And if there are conflicting definitions in the system that doesn't align with the quantity that's in the order template, it would not add those products to the it would add those products to the cart, but it will give you a warning in the cart saying that these products are failing the validation, so the user can go in and fix that in the cart itself. So Adding products to a template does not fire the validation. It doesn't validate it. But when template is added to a cart, it would add the products and it will highlight the products which are failing validation. So the user will have to fix it before they can start with the checkout flow. Next question, Sunny.
Are the B2B customers using the same Azure AD as B2C authentication?
Yes, they are. So we use Azure AD B2C for authenticating both B2C as well as B2B users. It's a bit of a misnomer because Azure calls that service as Azure AD B2C. But in reality, it's an authentication mechanism which we're leveraging both for B2C e-commerce as well as for B2B scenarios. Yes.
And then to add on to that, what is a unique identifier for the customer? For example, email, etc. Can a B2B customer be part of the organization and also be a B2C user?
Not using the same email address. So to your point, the identifier is the email address. So let's say Anil at Microsoft.com, if I use that email to sign up as a B2B user, I cannot just use the same email to sign up as a consumer. So as much as there would be a consumer site and there would be a business site, I would not be able to use the same email address to do my transactions both on the B2B as well as on the B2B side. I would need to have different email addresses for my business purchases and a different email address for my consumer purchases. Next one, Sunny.
Any plans for enabling configurable products and kits?
Yes. So we have a roadmap of things that we want to get done. And one of them is supporting CPQ processes. So we do want to build an experience where users can organization can define rules of configuration of products. And then there would be a visually rich experience on the B2B and even B2C e-commerce website where users can configure products. The system can ensure that the right rules of configuration is applied. If the prices can be shown for the configured product based upon how it's being configured, show the price to the user and let them add it to the cart. If the prices cannot be determined based upon the unique set of configurations that's being done, the users can even request for a quote for the custom configured product. So that functionality or that capability is something that we do want to get to. It's on our roadmap. So it should come in one of the future releases. Next one, Sonny.
Okay, and the final question in the queue, do we have invoice discount options if paid within 30 days and it's messaging?
Yes, in the sense that when you are paying for an invoice, what we do is, it's similar to the experience that we have in point of sales today, right? Where we are only capturing the payment request, saying that, hey, this is an invoice for which payment has been made. But we actually use the same retail server APIs, the same logic that we have in Commerce HQ or FNO, where those discounts would get computed and those discounts would get applied. We do not out of the box show the messages on the e-commerce website, but that's an extension that partners and customers can do. But we would definitely, when we are creating that payment journal and if system triggers the cash discount or the invoice discount, I mean, all that should flow in regularly because we are using the standard business logic in Commerce HQ and in FNO to create that payment journal, all of that. Next question, Sunny.
Yeah, one more question came in. Customers are onboarded on an online store, Fabricam. Since they are on the Fabricam online channel site, is it possible to have new e-commerce user register on board to request on a list of specific online stores instead of going to each online store individually?
So the entire flow around onboarding is only, I mean, in my view, it's only a B2B applicable scenario. You may not want something like that on your B2C website. But when you have multiple B2B websites, there is a very specific approval process there's a very specific approval process that is needed for each B2B online channel. So you may not, just because you're allowing an organization to onboard to one particular B2B e-commerce website, you may not want to onboard to another B2B e-commerce website. So we don't automatically associate that account to all the available B2B online sites. We only associate it to the site from where the request originated. If that's really a functionality that's needed, I mean, please let us know. We can think about it. We can see whether we can accommodate that in our roadmap. Alternatively, that would be a simple extension for partners and customers to do as well.
Thanks. Another question regarding performance. In B2B scenarios, a single sales order may have over 100 lines. Has this been tested? As compared to normal retail transact orders, there are much less lines.
Yeah, so we have done some testing in terms of the number of lines the cart can handle, the checkout experience can handle. So we have definitely done some basic level of performance validation. So we can handle hundreds of lines today on the order, but we understand that it is not just purely performance. There is also an element of ease of use and the UI actually rendering to make managing hundreds and thousands of lines manageable. So to answer that question specifically, can the system handle orders with hundreds of lines? The answer is yes. If this question is, hey, your UX is not very conducive to handle hundreds and thousands of lines, that's a feedback that's totally taken. That's something that we know. So we are building on some additional UX and enhancements. For example, we are thinking about building, order creation through Excel upload, right? So if you're building a 1,000-line order, I don't think any UI would be ideal to create a 1,000-line order other than doing it in Excel, right? So we would enable capability where users can quickly populate an Excel sheet and they can upload that Excel sheet onto the e-commerce portal, which would create the order for them. And then obviously, if you want to do things like order history and status view, we are building some additional enhancements from a user experience standpoint to make it more manageable. But from a pure API performance standpoint, I mean, definitely yes, we can support hundreds of lines on the order. So it's a partly yes to that question. Like from an API perspective, yes, we can handle it, whether we have the right user experience, the right user input tools to really manage an order with thousands of lines. I'm sure we can do a much better job there, and we are working on building those kind of capabilities.
So another question that came in: do you need separate online stores for B2C and B2B?
Yes, that's right. We would need separate online store for B2B and B2C. If that's all the questions that we have, I can turn it over to Evan for his closing comments.
Awesome. Thank you, Anil. We would like to get your feedback on today's session. I've posted a link to a short survey in the Q&A panel. We value your feedback and welcome your input on how we did today and what you would like to see in future sessions. That survey scores on a scale from 1 to 5, with 5 being the highest score possible, and we thank you for your participation in that. As a reminder, the recording of today's session will be available on the TechTalks Community Dynamics page within 5 business days. I'd like to extend a big thank you to our presenters and a thank you to our audience for logging in and joining us today. Please stay safe and have a great rest of your day or evening wherever you are. Goodbye.